Enter the world of biblical humanities, where an enriching symphony for the mind, heart, and soul plays at the crossroads of the Bible and the humanities. Hello, I'm Jessie Lee from Hubel Center, South Korea. It's a pleasure to reconnect with all of you. In Great Expectations, by Charles Dickens, there is an individual who may not have left a tremendous legacy, but has bequeathed a genuine, great legacy to future generations. That person is Joe Gargery, Pip's brother-in-law. Growing up in challenging circumstances akin to Pip and others from the lower class, Joe, raised by an alcoholic father, was denied the opportunity for an education. His mother, too, faced relentless hardships, toiling without respite. Witnessing his mother's struggles, Joe developed a strong aversion to mistreating women. Despite enduring mistreatment from his sister, Joe exhibited tolerance, love, and respect towards her. He consistently provided help and comfort to Pip, his brother-in-law. Following the demise of the rest of the family, Joe proposed bringing Pip, whom he had raised, to stay with him. Pip reciprocated this kindness by treating Joe as an equal friend, displaying respect and meeting his needs without distinction. One of the noteworthy attributes of Joe's character is his honesty and integrity. In a local pub with Pip, a patron gave him a silver coin, and upon discovering 2 one-pound notes wrapped around it at home, Joe promptly returned to the pub to return it. When Pip, heartbroken from visiting Miss Havisham's house, began weaving lies, Joe provided sagacious advice. He pointed out that lies originate from the devil and lead back to the same person. Emphasizing that extraordinary status is achieved through straightforward paths, he advised Pip. So don't tell no more on 'em, Pip, and live well and die happy. Reflecting on the years gone by, Pip admits that Joe deserves credit for everything that transpired. It was Joe's integrity, not his own, that kept him from fleeing the oppressive environment to become a soldier or sailor. Joe's diligence and example, not Pip's own, fueled his enthusiasm to persist in the forge. Pip articulates his sentiment, quote, "It is not possible to know how far the influence of any amiable honest-hearted duty-doing man flies out into the world. But it is very possible to know how it has touched one's self in going by. And I know right well that any good that intermixed itself with my apprenticeship came of plain contented Joe, and not of restlessly aspiring discontented me." Unquote. In more straightforward language, Pip acknowledges that the impact of a person who fulfills their duties with a friendly attitude and honest character is immeasurable. While one may not fully grasp their influence on the world, the changes within oneself become apparent. Pip openly admits that any positive outcomes in his life originated from Joe, recognizing the impact of Joe's amiable nature and honest character. Shifting to Joe's mastery of contentment, he has spent his entire life content with understanding his limits and faithfully fulfilling his role. When Pip seeks Biddy's assistance in improving Joe's learning and manners before heading to London, a brief argument unfolds. When Biddy asks whether Joe's manners aren't good enough, Pip responds by asserting that Joe's current manners won't be judged fairly when the day comes when he inherits all of their money and moves Joe to a higher sphere. Biddy's response at that moment is particularly noteworthy, quote, "He may be too proud to let anyone take him out of a place that he is competent to fill, and fills well and with respect. To tell you the truth, I think he is. Though it sounds bold in me to say so, for you must know him far better than I do." Unquote. In simpler terms, Joe takes great pride in his abilities and position, steadfastly refusing to relinquish them despite persuasion. His outlook on life aligns with the idea that life is made of ever so many partings welded together. Joe believes that everyone has their calling, be it blacksmiths, goldsmiths, or coppersmiths, and he should accept and find contentment in his calling. He recognizes that this belief originates from a desire to be right rather than arrogance. When Pip observes Joe's journey to London to deliver Miss Havisham's message and his prompt return, he recognizes Joe's perspective on life as a mission. Pip comments on this matter, quote, "I had not been mistaken in my fancy that there was a simple dignity in him. The fashion of his dress could no more come in its way when he spoke these words than it could come in its way in heaven." Unquote. In the end, Joe epitomizes an iron hand in a velvet glove. A fair man with tawny curly hair and blue eyes, His years as a blacksmith have sculpted a muscular body, making him a formidable presence in his neighborhood. Pip's portrayal of Joe as a sort of Hercules in strength, and also in weakness, is no mere exaggeration. During a dispute, a mean young man named Orlick, employed in Joe's forge, challenged Joe and Pip's sister. Despite Joe's repeated warnings, Orlick defied her and mocked her, resulting in his swift burial in a pile of coal ash. Surprisingly, in the presence of Pip's sister, Joe adopts a gentle demeanor, enduring mockery, insults, pinches, and even hair-pulling. Is this because he fears Pip's sister, who's tall and strong-boned, asserting she could overpower him effortlessly, even if there were 50 Pips and 50 Gargerys? Reflecting on his own mother's mistreatment in his childhood, Joe pities Pip's sister and views her as a fine figure of a woman. He appeals to Pip, his fellow sufferer, to overlook his sister's flaws. In a poignant scene, Pip metaphorically captures Joe's ambivalence when Jaggers, the lawyer, conveys the news of Pip's inheritance and relocation to London. Joe, expressing both joy and sorrow, grapples with containing his emotions. While thrilled at Pip's success, Joe struggles to suppress his underlying sadness. Laying his trembling hand on Pip's arm and shoulder with his robust blacksmith's arm, his broad chest heaving, and his voice fading away, Joe's gesture is perceived by Pip as if it had been the rustle of an angel's wing. Consequently, Pip has often thought him since like the steam hammer that can crush a man or pat an eggshell, in his combination of strength with gentleness. Through a life lived with honesty and integrity, remaining steadfast to his calling as a blacksmith, and embracing his steam hammer personality fully, Joe Gargery has bestowed upon us a greater legacy than any affluent individual could have provided. This serves as a poignant reminder that wealth is not the exclusive legacy we pass on to our children and future generations. Pip's affectionate label for Joe as this gentle Christian man truly encapsulates a Christian gentleman characterized by uncommon decency. Notably, Joe never sought recognition for his way of life. He ever did his duty in his way of life, with a strong hand, a silent tongue, and a gentle heart. A line from the movie, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, encapsulates Joe's life philosophy: beautiful things don't ask for attention. These words, uttered by photographer Sean O'Connell in the movie, echo with Joe's quiet nobility. In the film, Walter, a negative film manager at Life magazine, embarks on a Himalayan journey in pursuit of Sean's -25. While Sean patiently waits to photograph a snow leopard in the snow. Sean's statement reflects the extraordinary effort required to discover true beauty, mirroring Joe's unassuming yet impactful way of living. In his analysis of the novel, Terry Eagleton observes the interplay of various literary styles within the narrative. Primarily, the novel unfolds as a coming-of-age story, with Pip's education and mental development serving as the overarching framework. Additionally, the narrative incorporates elements of fantasy, drawing on mythology and fairy tales. Characters like Miss Havisham transcend the ordinary, initially appearing as generous fairies but revealing themselves as wicked witches. The name Havisham, a blend of have and sham meaning fake or fraudulent, alludes to the futility of desire. Similarly, Abel Magwitch, an Abel witch, transforms a humble boy into a princely gentleman but at a steep cost. Moreover, the novel stands as a work of realism, providing a vivid portrayal of the complex and harsh social climate of the 19th century post-industrial revolution. It delves into marital and parent-child relationships, the realities of life across social classes, the significance and impact of labor, and the plight of children. Examples, such as Joe Gargery's parents' marriage and the dynamics between Mr. and Mrs. Gargery, offer a glimpse into the lower-class couple's marriage and children's education during that era. The narrative exposes how the leisure class was absorbed in liberal arts and sciences, distancing themselves from productive occupations. It highlights diverse approaches to work-life balance, with some fully immersed in careers like Jaggers, others seeking equilibrium like Wemmick, and individuals like Joe finding contentment in honest and diligent work in the fields. Additionally, the novel portrays the routine abuse children endured through constant adult scrutiny and spanking. coupled with the evangelical notion that children are inherently evil. Descriptions of the children's lives encountered by Jaggers, the lawyer, draw poignant parallels between them and criminals, shedding light on the harsh realities faced by both groups. As I immersed myself in reading, a quote by Walt Whitman, referenced by Martha Nussbaum, kept resonating with me. Whitman provides diverse descriptions of the role of literary artists in discussing politics in America, emphasizing that the literary artist is a much-needed participant. He further asserts that the poet is the arbiter of the diverse, and the equalizer of his age and land, attributing this to the poet's expansive imagination that does not see men and women as dreams or dots, but instead sees eternity in men and women. Nussbaum argues that Whitman's call for public poetry is relevant not only to his time but also to ours. While Charles Dickens's Great Expectations doesn't fall into the category of poetry, I believe it stands out as an exceptional work of literature, fulfilling the public role and function Whitman describes. It also embodies Henry James's perspective on the task of the literary imagination in relation to public life. To create the record, in default of any better enjoyment of it to imagine, in a word, the honorable, the producible case. The universal acceptance or realization of this ideal in our immediate reality is irrelevant, as long as it stands alongside the ugly, just as the beautiful coexists with the crude and insensitive. We won't lose sight of the values, justice, and excellence we should aspire to. Characters like Elizabeth and Darcy, rising above their self-deception. Joe Gargery, a gentleman Christian akin to a steamhammer. Aragorn, remaining true to his roots and respecting the hobbits even as king. Winston, enduring solitude in the face of Big Brother. And Odysseus, risking his life for the greater good and confronting 108 unruly men. All these characters, living in our imaginations alongside the ugly and despicable realities of our world, ensure our ongoing journey towards a just and beautiful society. This pursuit will endure until the end of time. Thank you for exploring the magnificent legacy left by a character like a steamhammer, and the diverse literary forms at work in Great Expectations. I hope these reflections resonate with you. Catch you soon.